Dr. Beleh, you will continue to inspire and support students for many years into the future. Right now, I would like to share with you a few comments made that demonstrate the kind of supportive teacher and exceptional leader that Dr. Beleh is. One student wrote, "The immense amount of effort that Dr. Beleh puts into try to have every student succeed is really admirable. While I feel we are lucky to have all these professors who work so hard to educate us in the best way possible, Dr. Beleh stands out the most." Another student wrote, "Dr. Beleh is one of the few professors who will do whatever it takes to make a student feel comfortable and confident with class material. He also cares so much about our well-being and gets to know each of us on a very personal level."
Sorry, just adjusting the papers. These are just two student quotes of many that exemplify how much Dr. Beleh truly cares for his students and wants them to not only learn, but excel in and out of the classroom. The phrase that many of the comments included was above and beyond. As students, we greatly appreciate the professors that go the extra mile to be supportive and caring while still helping us learn and grow. So a huge thank you goes out to you, Dr. Beleh, for your unwavering dedication to your students and care for their well-being. Now, before he presents his last lecture, we'd like to thank a few of the people that have supported the committee this year to make this event possible. First and foremost, we'd like to thank Dr. Beleh for being such an amazing person to work with while planning this event. From day one, he was more than willing to help us with planning and contacting people and putting his input on everything, so we greatly appreciate that. In addition, we'd also like to thank Bridget Lansing from Conference and Event Services, Michigan Catering, and Carl Cole from Michigan Media. It was not an easy task trying to plan tonight, and we appreciate all the time and effort that these people put into this event.
The event this year could not be possible without the contribution and donations from academic units, offices, and departments across campus. I would also like to thank all the students who gave their time to nominate. Guys, I'm nervous. I'm not the one giving my last lecture, and I can't even talk right now. Nominate the professors, and to those that left thoughtful comments like the two we previously mentioned. And lastly, I would like to thank the incredible Golden Apple Committee for their time fundraising, emailing, and planning this event. For this event, we have the pleasure of hearing Dr. Beleh give his powerful last lecture titled, "It's Never Too Late." So without further ado, I present Dr. Mustapha Beleh, the winner of the 32nd Golden Apple Award. Woo!
I was going to say, I feel that you guys are so lucky. You got through this. Now I have to go through mine, which I actually have to tell you, surprisingly, I'm actually very nervous. So, we'll see how it goes, but don't be too hard on me. Just wait. You don't know. Okay, so I've always wondered, why is it when you give a talk or a lecture that your last slide is to do what? Thank people, right? Acknowledge, thank. Why is it at the beginning? There might be a reason, I just don't know. To me, it makes more sense to thank the people first, because then they'll be like, well, I have to listen to that guy that said nice things, and even if he makes a mistake here or there, or it's boring, it's okay, he just thanked me, I have to be nice. So I kind of always wondered about that. So it's never too early to thank people. I think I'm gonna do it that way. We'll see. So first, thank you all for coming. Everybody here has touched me in one way or the other. So thank you so much for being here for me. I want to thank Emily and Maddie, who you just saw, for planning this event. They've been wonderful throughout this whole process. They surprised me. I had no idea. It's one of those things where, some of the things you do, you kind of know that you may get it, like you get nominated or you submit your name or something. But this one, I had no idea. I was sitting in class giving a lecture to you guys, and here comes those two ladies with balloons. I'm like, oh, there's somebody's birthday today. They're coming with balloons. That's what I thought. But then they walked to me and it's on my birthday. And then it turns out that that's what it was. And since then, they've been wonderful. Thank you so much for everything. I'd like to thank family and friends. They're sitting at that table. Without them, of course, I wouldn't be here. Each one of them has touched me in different ways. And you know what? Let's wait on those guys. We'll talk about them later. Colleagues, and I'm really happy that you were able to come. Again, you know that you've all touched me. You've all been part of my success. Everybody that's in here, amazing faculty. I've learned from many of you a lot of things. I've been supported by many of you in everything I do. So I don't want to keep naming names because I'm going to forget somebody. But I have to say, for example, I've gone through what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deans. Right, Dean Ascioni was the first from those who are here. He was the one that helped hire me, and I've told him this many times. I really learned a lot from him in terms of understanding students, empathy with students. Those were valuable lessons that he taught me over the years. Dean Mueller. He was here for a short time, but for some reason, since you were dean, I kept winning things. I don't know. It sometimes had nothing to do, like the golden apple is not even a college thing, but like there's 3 or 4. You allowed me to give a commencement speech, so it's been good. So, and now I'm here today with Angrad being our dean, but you have a lot to catch up to get to Bruce. I have to win a lot of things, so keep that in mind. Of course, Dr. Garcia, who's my department head currently and been for a while, learned a lot from him. One of the things is, he's always like, I don't know if you guys were at, when he's in lecture, he just picks up on everything. He's so smart. I'm serious. Like, it's really amazing. Like, I'm lecturing something and all of a sudden he stops me and like asks me this really smart question. I'm like, wow, how did he even think of that? And the person who had promised me that she's not going to retire until I retire, but she is leaving me, Dr. Nagy. So she has been one that I've worked with for years and years and learned a lot from. Of course, the person that probably I interact with most, Dean Sweet. So taught me a lot of lessons, taught me how to think about things and approach any type of problem. Dean Nelson, I don't know without you how we would run the college. It's really amazing in terms of the support that you provide for me. Even what? Exactly. I don't know how it would work to start with. And then there are people you would think they're so junior to me, they're so much younger, what would I learn from them? But somebody like Dr. Verdenberg, I've learned so much from her, the way she organizes things, the way she thinks about things. It's really amazing in terms of the amount of things I've learned from her as well. And next comes my students, and oops. You think I know how to do this. And before we get into my students, there are 2 people here who actually were my students and now are my colleagues. So one of them is our assistant dean, Dean Boswick, who again, just like Dean Nelson, in addition to learning things from, she's always supportive and always supportive of our teaching and makes things work. And then Dr. McDevitt, who used to be my student, and now she teaches with me in the same course. So it's really amazing, and it's amazing. I don't know if for those of you who are P3s or older, you've seen her in action, and you know how good she is. She's just like this amazing teacher. So I hope that's. And then my students, I really love my students. Everybody just great in terms of what you do for me and so on. It's been an amazing journey always. Whenever whenever I'm in the classroom, I'll tell you a story about some of those P3s sitting out there. So I mentioned one time we have this thing which I'll introduce later called happy hour, and I just mentioned that, during happy hour, the P2s aren't as engaged as I would like them. So guess what they did? They showed up to their happy hour. And they got engaged so that they showed them, this is how you do it. And they were answering questions from the curriculum of the P2 year. Like, they were supposed to be studying infectious diseases, but they were actually there, actually there. Which of course brings us to infectious disease experts, Dr. Carver, who is, we've been working together for years in different capacities, and again, somebody I've learned a lot from and I've enjoyed working with, and I'm happy we keep working together all the time, so it's been great. I'd like to thank the Michigan Union. So the reason I'm mentioning this is actually I looked up when they told me we're in the Kuenzel room. I don't know if anybody knows who Kuenzel is. So it turned out he was the general manager of the Michigan Union for a very long time, for about, I think, like 50 years. He used to be a basketball player on the Michigan team that won championships back in like the 20s, I believe. But during his tenure, the union changed from a men's all club to include women. So it used to be, the union used to be only men only could attend. And then after World War II, they allowed women on Sunday. That was the only day you can come in. And then eventually he changed the rule and it became an all-inclusive. Okay, so now I've thanked you guys. If I forgot somebody, I just love everybody, my colleagues, my students, everybody. So now you have not to be too hard on me. Okay, so the last lecture. So when I won the award, Maddie and Emily told me that I'm going to be giving this last lecture. So I was like, what am I going to talk about? This is, what exactly would I prepare? So I started thinking maybe I should think of a topic that's of interest to me or a current issue that's important and I can delve into and do some research. And I've changed my mind probably about 10, 15 times about the topic that I would do. I remember, Noha, we were in Chicago, if you remember, and you asked me, like, what are you talking about? I said, I have like 10 topics, I don't know which one. So I kept changing my mind. So I decided, well, I'll look up what this is about. So it actually says that it's a tradition at many universities, and Emily and Maddie talked about this, that if it was your last chance to give a lecture to students, what would you say? So I also looked at something else up and said, it shares reflection from their life's journey and to speak to students as if it was their last lecture ever. So that kind of resonated with me. I said, oh, maybe that's a good thing. And then Noha again, my daughter, so for you who don't know, Noha, here's my daughter sitting right there. So she actually told me, oh, there's a book called The Last Lecture. I said, what? She said, yeah, there's a book about somebody who did The Last Lecture and wrote a book. So I said, well, let me go read it. So I actually did, and this is what The Last Lecture looks like. It was actually, what made this idea of Last Lecture more famous was this book written by Randy Pausch, who gave his last lecture at Carnegie Mellon University. He was actually dying at the time, so it actually was his last lecture. He was dying at the time from, I think, leukemia. But he gave the lecture, and it was about really achieving your childhood dreams. And when I read it, I felt like, yeah, that's probably what I want to talk about, that it's not about a topic, not about a specific issue or something like this, but something like how he approached it. It really kind of talked to me, so I decided to take that particular approach. So that's part of why I'm nervous, because I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we'll see. So my students know, before any lecture, the first thing I do is give them the game plan. So that's what I do. First thing is the game plan. We have to know what we're going to be talking about, right? So I'm going to get to know me, so you're going to hear about me for a while. Hope that's not too boring. We'll talk about, I'll share some of my teaching experiences through the year, so kind of reflection on how I think about teaching. And I will ask you to self-reflect about specific issues and topics that I will introduce to you. So I will introduce you to my past and present in terms of getting to know me. In terms of sharing my teaching experience, I'm going to tell you some stories from my teaching days. And I will tell you what I think I learned about teaching through, how long now? I'm not going to even think about it. Experiences, we'll ask you to reflect, because I'm going to tell you some experiences from Egypt and from the US that maybe can kind of drive the point. And I'll talk about issues that are important to me. I will be using quotes. So your mission, should you choose to accept this, is to identify what the quote is. So what is this from? Mission Impossible, very good. Okay, somebody is taking count, and at the end we're going to count and see if you passed or not. If you didn't, you'll have to listen to the lecture again on YouTube. So I will be a storyteller for this evening. I have to tell you all the stories are true, And any resemblance to real person is actually 100% true. They are the real people. There would be parts which you might be offended by an opinion I give or something else, a picture or something. So, it's okay. Take this hour and say to yourself, this hour I'm gonna allow anything. I'm gonna listen to different things. That's fine. And then you can live the rest of your life with your whatever is important to you. So just take this hour off so that you don't get too offended. So the first thing I wanted to, or tried to think about is what was it that I wanted to be when I grew up? Like when I was younger, what were the things that I wanted to be? And I actually surprisingly found this, in some of the things that I have at home. I found this like notebook that I wrote different things. I wrote stories, but one of them was I actually kept updating. I didn't even remember that I did that. I kept updating my dreams from when I was very young in elementary school and just kept adding things. So it's this huge list that doesn't make a lot of sense when you read it now. But I picked some things from it that I thought were interesting. So first, this is me, the one in the middle. This is my dad and my mom. They both passed away. But that was, as you can see, I was very young. So I didn't start writing then, but shortly after. So all my dreams, actually, as it turns out to be, were dreams within a dream. Where's that from? Inception. Here you go. You guys are doing very well. It's going to get tougher. So it is dream within a dream. So first, I had this idea of I want to have a legacy. And I want to have a legacy by influencing other people, making a difference. So that was one of the big things I had in mind. And you can see it's a dream within a dream. So legacy, but it has to be different to other people. I wanted to be a football player. This is real football, not this American football. Okay, that's what you guys sometimes call soccer. I told you I'm going to offend people. So this is the real football. I wanted to be actually a football player, a renowned football player that wins a lot of trophies, not just a football player. Now, it turns out I wasn't that good. I mean, my friend here, Ashraf, I've known him for about 50 years. He'll tell you, I'm okay, but I'm not the type of player who would win trophies, right? Right, Ashraf? Yeah. I wanted to also write. So I wanted to be a world-renowned writer who wins a Nobel Prize. For some reason, that was the one I guess I knew at the time, that's what I wanted to win a Nobel Prize in literature. Think that was another one. And then later on in life, because I found out that I cannot become a writer, I thought, well, what career I'm going to take? So I decided I want to be a pharmacist, but I also want to be a teacher, which at the time I didn't know how to do it. Like, how can you be a pharmacist and a teacher? But that's what I had written. So those were the things that I wanted. I think I've managed to become a pharmacist with the opportunity to teach, so that one I could. I think I've won something, so today I'm winning something, and I'm going to be a storyteller. So now I'm a storyteller who won something, right? So I'm a writer, so I think today I'm fulfilling that dream. Football player winning loads of trophies, we'll get to that later, and the legacy one as well. We'll see if that happened or not. But this is me when I was in college. And I'm the one in the middle, and I knew I wanted to teach. See, I was the one with the microphone, because I knew I was going to be that teacher in the classroom. And everybody was accepting of that and standing, not fighting me for the microphone or anything. But eventually, it's never too late to fulfill your dreams. That's the point. So today I'm fulfilling this dream, and there are other dreams that you will see that I fulfilled over the years, and it's never too late to fulfill the dreams. So today I'm going to be the storyteller, and I won an award, so I got that one. Okay, so I'm going to talk about family in general. So here's a tough quote. We'll see if anybody gets this one. So tell me, do you spend time with your family? Sure I do. Good, because a man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man. Anybody knows where that's from? Told you it's tough. You're actually close. It's not Goodfellas, it's something close. No. Godfather, yes. It's the typical family movie, right? So it makes sense that that comes from it. So it is from The Godfather, that as you can see. And actually, there is another quote that to me I don't think that's what he meant in the movie, but to me it's a very important quote that shows the importance of family, which is, leave the gun, take the cannoli. Because, you're done, you don't need your profession, but the cannoli, his wife had asked for it, so he has to take the cannoli back home. So family is really important, right? So I think family is very important. So I'm going to introduce you to my family. So this is first my origins. So my origins, I'm from, my mother's side is a Qurayim, and my dad's side, you can tell, is a Beleh. They're actually both big names within the community they're in, whether it's the Qurayim or the Beleh. So my Qurayim roots comes from my great-great-grandfather, who was actually the governor of Alexandria when Napoleon Bonaparte came and invaded Egypt back in 1798. Is that correct, Noah? Thank you. 1798. So he actually was the governor. He decided to resist the French invasion, and he was captured eventually. Like he tried to bribe him, the French, to surrender, but he wouldn't. So eventually he was actually captured, and they offered him to keep his position, and in exchange for allowing the French army to advance into Alexandria peacefully, but he refused. The nobles had turned on him, so they had promised support, but they turned on him, and they actually offered him that they would give him the opportunity for revenge, but he said no. So they actually executed him, and to humiliate him, they made him sit on a donkey backwards and go through Alexandria, and then they executed him. And I didn't know this until like 2 days ago. Actually, there's a picture of Napoleon in the same thing when he was captured and went to Alba, which is kind of strange, because of course the person who drew it had no idea of the story. But it was, I guess, a form of humiliation at the time that you ride on a donkey backwards. Makes sense. But it's actually a picture that's in the Library of Congress showing Napoleon that way. But that was my grandfather from one side. This is a picture, thank you, my uncle who's sitting here, for sending me this picture. It's for a different reason that he sent it, but I decided to use it. So this is my grandfather sitting down, my grandmother, and actually my dad, who is in what's called the tarbush, which is the Egyptian hat, and my aunt. And my grandfather actually built the first school in the community, in the village where he lived. He was the headmaster, and my grandmother was the Arabic teacher. And so you can see that education runs in the family, so it's something from long ago. But there's a very famous story, which I know Noha loves, so I'm going to give her the opportunity, if she wants, to come tell the story of the watermelon. You want to tell it?
I do love this story.
Here we go.
Okay. So his name is also Mustapha Beleh. He didn't mention that, so it's his namesake. But he was obviously interested in my great-grandmother, and at the same time, there was another man in the village that was also interested in her. So to decide who would get to have her hand, they went to a narrow part of the Nile that ran through their village, and they said, we're going to race across it. But just racing across it wasn't enough. They had to each carry a watermelon under each one of their arms as they went across. And ultimately, my great-grandfather won, and we're all standing here today because he was able to go across with 2 watermelons. So, that's the story.
And this story was actually fact-checked by Adrian, Noah's friend, sitting down here, because he didn't believe this idea of watermelon, and he thought watermelon would sink. So he went and checked it and came back and said, you know what, you guys are right. Watermelons, even if they sink, they come up again. So, and there is actually a game that I'm showing where they actually use, now they use balls, but originally it was watermelons, and you kind of play with it, I don't know, like some kind of basketball game or something. So these are the stories of my, both sides of the family that I wanted to introduce you to. And so the lesson here is fight for what you value most. So what you value most could be defending your country, right? It could be, for the woman you love. It could be you want to educate the people in your village, so you build a school. So whatever it is that you value the most, fight for. It doesn't matter what it is. Nothing is too small, nothing is too big. So I think that's the lesson that I would like to leave you with from this particular slide. No, it's not over. And you will win some and lose some. What quote is that? What's that from? Win some, lose some. My cousin Vinny, that's right. So my cousin Vinny, I taught my kids and my wife well. But it's never too late to be all you can be. So that's the other thing that you have to remember. So you're not going to win everything. You're going to fight for what you believe in. You know, my grandfather from the crime side didn't win, but you'll fight what you're in. You will win some and you will lose some, but that's okay. You just fight for what you really believe in. So I have family in Egypt still. So this is, I've already introduced my dad and my mom. This is my stepmother with my dad later on in life. These are I actually have my laser pointer, so maybe I'll use it or try to use it. Haven't used a laser pointer in ages. Does it work? Yes. So this is actually my sister right here. She's an amazing person. She inspires me in what she does and how she raises her kids and everything she does. This is my brother, much younger brother, and these are my two nieces. So this is Noha, by the way, and that's me. This is my niece, Haya, and this is my other niece, Lily. Haya is like one of the smartest people you'd ever meet, very ambitious. She's going to go places. Lily is the sassiest person you're going to meet. Not one of the most, the sassiest person you're going to meet. So, that's them. My brother finally got married, so that's his wife. Took a while, and now I have a new nephew. And when we first went to Egypt, I just came back from Egypt before the semester starts, and Noha was with me, and we met him for the first time. He's still a few months old. The first thing we did, what surprised me, is like Noha went in, ran to see him. And what did she do? She had to drape him with Michigan gear. That was the first thing. She even asked his father and mother. She didn't say it. She just went into the room, took him, put on the Michigan gear. This is my family in America. So my uncle and my aunt are here. Their kids couldn't make it, but my cousins are in the picture as well. Those are the two kids. Two of Yasmin's kids was my cousin that you can see here. But they were the first people when I came here to the States those were the only family I had. So I actually came to Columbus, Ohio State. Going to offend people again. So that's where I stayed, where they helped me with the transition, and my uncle's kind of my role model. So try to follow in his footsteps as much as I can. So that's my family here in America. But family is really forever. So family isn't just people that that are related to you in blood. There are other people who are your family, right? So I think we all agree, like we meet a lot of friends over the years, and in a certain period of time, they are really important. But then, life goes on, and sometimes you lose touch with them, or they're not part of your life. But there are those few that are family. I consider them not just friends, but our family. So this is my friend Nader. He's actually used to be my roommate. We came together to the United States at the same time. He went to New York, I went to Columbus. He became roommates. We stayed together until his wife came and he kicked me out of the house. No, this is true. This is true. Once she was in the picture, I had to leave. So that's him. He lives in Florida now. And then this guy who sitting right here, Ashraf, I've known him, as I said, for 50 years. Known him since elementary school. He flew from Florida today, despite the fact that his son has a tournament tomorrow in North Carolina. So he's actually leaving. He came here at like 2 p.m., leaving at 5 a.m. tomorrow so he can catch his son's tournament. So, and there are some who, you don't see for years. So I had a friend who I hadn't seen for 30 years. And then me and Noah went to visit him in Austria. That's me and him. And it's as if I've never left, but I will always be with him. And the main thing is his family. Like, I felt the love from his family when I've never met them before. It's just kind of an amazing thing. So those are also friends that are really family. They're not just friends. So with family, all you need is love. Beatles. Here we go. So it's the Beatles. And it's never too late to tell your family that. Okay, covered everybody in the family? Did I forget anybody? Okay, well, the family of 4. So the family of 4 is, we started as a family of 2, That's how it started. And then we became a family of 3. And I told you got to be offended. I'm going to keep the I'm going to give the picture not for very long. Frank, I'm sorry. Because Frank always gave me a hard time. He was my neighbor when, at school in terms of work, and he would always come after the High State game, and, although High State won, he was the one giving me the hard time. And then it still wasn't complete, so we had to, something had to come to complete us, and that was when we became a family of 4. And we, they were young. We were young at one point, and I'm sure that cake, Noha was the one who added the frosting on. You can see her with the spoon saying, take the picture already, I want to eat. Let's go, let's go. And then they became high schoolers, we went on trips. So, but the thing I wanted to say about your family, your family of 4 or 5 or 3 or whatever, 2, whatever family you have, is that you always work towards what's better for the family. So, after we got married, I had to come here back to my work, which actually in South Dakota. That's where Omar was born. And Nihal had to leave her job, which she was a faculty member at Alexandria University College of Pharmacy. She had to leave her family, which she's never left before. But there wasn't a thought that this was a sacrifice. This is normal. This is what was good for the family. We did that. Later on, she got her PhD. The idea was that she was going to work in industry. She's not big on academia, but she wanted to work in industry, and there was Pfizer in town. And the idea was that, I'm working at University of Michigan. Hopefully we'll get her a job at Pfizer, and things were settled. And then Pfizer moved. And there wasn't really much opportunity for what she does in terms of research. So, we thought, what we can do? But she felt that the best thing for the family is that we stay in Ann Arbor. So she actually went back, got her equivalency exam for pharmacy, and been working since as a pharmacist. But I never felt that she had sacrificed for us, or that it's sacrifice. Because I think with family, you don't sacrifice. You do what you feel is best for your family. And if you think that way, I think that's what makes a successful family. So there are no sacrifices. But then our kids decide to leave. Each one is a different state now. So this is when one is in Illinois, one is in Wisconsin. Omar has to make a face when he takes pictures. So that's why that face. I think told them, make a face, and no, I didn't. So I think that's what happened, if I remember correctly. And now we're back to being the 2 of us together again. So in the end, the family is all for one and one for all. Here you go. But not this 3 Musketeers, though, right? This 3 Musketeers. Okay, and it's never too late to do what's best for your family. So always think, like I said, don't think of it as a sacrifice when you decide to do something. It's best if you think, this is what's best for the family, and I'm going to do it, and that's how things work. So when we got married, I told Nihal that this is real, I've always felt I wanted 4 kids, 3 girls and a boy. I was very specific. Like I told you, I always have dreams within a dream. 4 kids, 3 girls, a boy. That's what I wanted. So I told her that. She said, well, I really wanted 2. So we decided to do what any good couple do, which is compromise. So we had 2 kids. But little did she know that our family is going to grow. So now, all of a sudden we have a 3rd. No, I'm not going to announce that here if that happens. It's not that this. I would tell you a different way. Don't worry, Noha. So these are my kids. So this is Noha, always showing, her grace. She was a tiny dancer. Then she graduated from U of M, and this is Omar. He's, I tell him, Luke, I'm your father. So, they're two different from, Noha changed what she wants to do about 15 to 16 times in the last 6 years. She decides, okay, and when we talk about change, we talk about first being, a ballet dancer, and then becoming an actress, and then fashion design, and then playwright, and then all of a sudden healthcare. So it's that type of change. That's what she does all the time. Omar knew. That moment, which is when he finished his PhD, he probably envisioned it when he was in 8th grade. He knew exactly what he wanted to do, where he wants to go. And both are great in that aspect. Whatever you are, do it, because it's who you are. If you want to change your mind and change your career, you're gonna arrive to where you want to be. If you happen to know what you want to do from the beginning, that's totally fine. So in both cases, it was fine. So, okay, Tiny Dancer. Yeah, but who sings it? Elton John, thank you. And where's Luke? I'm your father from? Star Wars. I'm sure my students know that, right? So the question that I always asked, and I remember an incident. Hopefully I'm not going to embarrass you, Noha. I remember an incident where I asked Noha to do something, like I didn't think what she was going to do was the right thing to do. So I told her, I don't think you should do that. But the way I raise them is, I tell them what I think and I let them do it. And I tell them, if you make a mistake, you have to pay the consequences. But I'm not going to tell you, you can't do this. So I told her, and then I got a phone call later with exactly what I thought was going to happen. And she said, can you come get me? And on the way there, I thought, how am I going to react to that? And the question I asked myself, or what I was really happy about, is that she called me. She didn't feel the need, like because I told her that, to call her mom, or that she had to call somebody else. She actually called me. So I always ask myself with my kids, the way I react, do I want them to run to me or run away from me? That's the question. So I always try to treat them in a way that they feel comfortable running to me. Even if I disagree with what they do, I don't want them to run from me. I want them to run to me. And that's what I think is an important thing that I would like you to consider when you're raising your kids, to think about that. Think of how to treat them in a way that they actually run to you. And it's never too late to actually learn how to deal with your kids, because up till today, there are situations that happen, and I talk to Omar or talk to Noha, and I learn, what, maybe this is not the best way to react or to do whatever I'm thinking of doing, and I learn from them what is the best way to treat them. So actually, I think it's always good to always keep thinking about that in that term. So I told you that it's not just two kids. Noha was mistaken, because I have a third kid right there, sitting right there, Emily. So we have a third kid, both of us. And Emily, the story, and they're here, so if I say it wrong, please correct me. The story goes is that Noha was first day of kindergarten, and she's going to kindergarten. She had gone to preschool, so she wasn't, that nervous or anything. But still, going to a new school, people she never saw before, she was a little nervous. She walks into the classroom of about 25 kids. And from across the room, there's this blonde girl standing there. And all of a sudden, the blonde girl comes running to Noha. And she hugs her and says, "Do you want to be my best friend?" And Noha says, "Yes." She said, "Well, I'm Emily." She said, "I'm Noha." And that's it. They became best friends. Am I right? So, and since then, Emily has become part of the family, and Noha has become part of Emily's family as well. So this is a concept I took them to. I went with them to Avril Lavigne when they were 7 years old. So I sat with 7-year-olds and preteens and teenagers listening to Avril Lavigne. It was a great concert. I really enjoyed it. But you can see how they're dressed. It's important to dress for a party. But I think what's more important about Emily, and what tells you how close she is to us, is I did something else for her, which was the first time. Both me and Noha did something for her that was her first. It was first Happy Meal. She never had a Happy Meal or went to McDonald's or any fast food before we took her to that Happy Meal, same day, as you can tell. So we gave her first Happy Meal ever. Well, it wasn't just 3 kids, because the college in 2012, something like that, decided to come up with the concept of farm family. So now I have so many kids, right? So this was my first farm family, actually. Those were the first group of farm family. And then this is the latest. So this is my current farm family, but here are just some pictures of some of the other families that I've had. So I've had so many different kids over the years. I've been lucky with that. So I way exceeded the amount I have. One strange thing that I wanted to mention, by the way, is for some reason, people who come into my family, many of them, after they finish pharmacy school, they go to medical school. So actually 3 out of these people either graduated medical school or are currently in medical school. Don't ask me why. I mean, I don't know what's about my family that makes them decide to go on to med school. But doesn't even end there, right? So, you know, I have whole classes of kids over the years. I have the GPC class, right? So we have at least one representative I can see that's from GPC. GPC was the first class that had the new curriculum. So they call themselves GPC, which GP stands for guinea pig class. So that's why they're called. And they have these t-shirts, which I still have, that say GPC class. And on the back, they have Dr. Carver on the back of the shirt.
I still have my shirt.
You have your shirt too? Yeah, I still have mine. And I went through many classes, of course. This is the class of 2021. I can see probably at least 1 or 2 sitting back there from the class of 2021, right? So I think Hannah's there, and I think Noor is there. So yeah, a couple that are. And of course, you know, I've had the pleasure of doing many things with the students. We've ran the 5K together. Many of them, I was at, or all of them really, I was at their graduation. This is just some of the students that I, you know, took pictures with during graduation, but I've been to all their graduations as well. So embrace the people who come your way. That's kind of my take home from this one, that please embrace or think about embracing the people who come your way. People are important. I know they're really important to me to have these people around. That's what's make life much better. And because people who need people are the luckiest people in the world. What movie?
Funny girl.
Funny Girl. Here you go. Something from the 60s. Okay. And it's never too late to add special people. I'm lucky because every year I get to add new people. That's one of the best things about working in the college. Okay, I'm gonna get offended again. So opportunities. You want to close your eyes, you can. So I told you I wanted to be a pharmacist, but not to teach. So I didn't know how to do that until, you know, I found out, well, my uncle's doing his PhD and he's going to be a teacher. So maybe that's the way. So why don't I do that? So I decided to try and get into a PhD program here in the United States. So at the time, remember, there's no internet. You can't look up universities. The only way you do it actually is you send a letter to the university and they send you back this huge mailing thing with their catalogs and so on. I'm sure you guys remember back there, right? But if you're in Egypt, it's really hard. But I actually came to visit my uncle, and so I did that while I was here in the United States. You know, High State was right there because that's where my uncle went to grad school. But I sent to actually University of Texas, and I got back and I felt, oh, you know, it seems High State, you know, is better for me. My uncle is there, so I applied for there for the PhD program in pharmacology. And I didn't hear back for a while. I was a little worried, but then I got this letter that said, you are accepted to the medicinal chemistry department and medicinal chemistry and pharmacology department at the Ohio State University. I'm like, maybe their pharmacology and medicinal chemistry are just the same thing. I don't know. So I don't know if my uncle remembers this story, but when I went there, I actually asked, I was actually talking to the head of the Department of Pharmacology, and he told me that year, that my application was very strong. It did go to the pharmacology department. It was very strong, but they didn't take any students because of, you know, financial restraints at the time at the department. So he told me that my uncle actually went there, took my paper from the pharmacology and put it in medicinal chemistry. And that's how I became. So I'm actually a PhD by accident. But you take the opportunities when you can get them. And I actually ended up, you know, graduating, as you can see here. Years later, my wife, Nihal, came to get her PhD from University of Michigan, and I stayed home for a while because Noha was very young, so we decided it's best that, you know, we stay until she, you know, old enough to get to go to preschool. And then I got this opportunity where they were looking for somebody to teach at the College of Pharmacy for 1 year because of a faculty who went on sabbatical. So I applied. I went to actually meet Jim Coward, who was at the time the department head, and they hired me for that temporary position. while I was working there, I had ideas about how to change the curriculum of the medicinal chemistry department, how to add tools, things like that. So, I introduced that to him, just as, general things. Looking at the curriculum, that's what I had. When I do a job, I want to do as much as I can. So I did that, and I showed it to Jim. And the day we were leaving, we're actually going back to Egypt after Nihal finished her PhD portion at the University of Michigan. Literally the day before I left, he came to me and said, "What would you say if we offer you a position here?" And he actually told me that he met with Frank. Again, I don't know if people remember these stories, but he told me that he met with Frank, who was the associate dean at the time, and that they felt that I could do something about the curriculum in the medicinal chemistry department, and that they would offer me a contract to come back after, because we already had decided we were going back. So, it was a great opportunity, but I wasn't sure, should I or shouldn't I? Because, you're used to the idea that I want to be a tenure track faculty, I want to do research. This wasn't that type of position. I was going to be teaching. My research, if I did research, would be in teaching. It wouldn't be a tenure track position. So, talked to Nihal. Nihal was enthusiastic about it. She felt if we decide to come back to the States, that would be a really good idea, that's where we should, that would be, we like Ann Arbor, it's everything. But I was still hesitant. And I actually talked to my uncle. Again, I don't remember if he remembers or not, but I talked to my uncle. And my uncle, by the way, and his wife are the biggest Ohio State fans in the world. I mean, if you go visit them in their house, ask them to see the bathroom. The bathroom that's Ohio State. So my uncle, who is an Ohio State fan, said, "What are you talking about? You being offered a job at the University of Michigan and you're even thinking about it? Take it." So I said, "Okay, I'll take it." So I ended up coming to the University of Michigan, and I became, part. So you can see that Ohio State and Michigan can coexist. See, so they're on the same screen. It didn't explode. It can happen. So embrace the opportunities that come your way, even if doesn't seem at the time that, it's exactly what I was looking for. I was looking tenure track and I wanted to do this. If you like it, if it's something that you feel it's you, take it, because it led to the best decision I've done, career-wise, because it's my dream job. I love what I do, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else. And always remember that chance favors the prepared mind. The chances are going to come your way. That's only going to come your way if you're prepared, okay? Does anybody know who that quote is from? Close. Pasteur. Yeah, so Louis Pasteur was the one who actually said that. And it's never too late to step into a new adventure. Sports. So I love sports. Love to watch it, even love more to play it. As I told you, I wanted to be the real football player. That didn't work out because I wasn't as good. Actually, in college, I ended up having to play field hockey because I wouldn't be chosen on the college team. But I love sports. And I told you I wanted to win trophies, but I never did for the longest time. Until I was part of my kids' sports and they won the trophies. See, it's going to work one day. So first, Omar won. He was in his soccer team. They won the Michigan State Premier, the one in the bottom, soccer Premier League, whatever the Premier League is called. So that was he won when he was in high school. And then Noah won the state championship in field hockey, and I was really a part of both of those, so I did. But I kept, when I came to States, there wasn't a lot of opportunities to play soccer. So when I was in Columbus, never played. Went to South Dakota, didn't play. When I came to Ann Arbor, actually, a few years in, I discovered that there are places you can play soccer. So I started to play soccer, and I started to make my own team, and we've been playing since. And guess what happened? We won trophies. Yes, we won trophies. So I did end up, it's never too late. You can play soccer and win trophies. So that does happen. So find your team, whatever you decide to do, find your team. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains, just like when I didn't play for the longest time. It's okay, it's gonna rain and you won't be able to play.
Bull Durham.
Bull Durham. So that's what that quote is from. I actually find this quote very good, very deep. Seriously, I really think it's a really good one. And it's never too late to realize your passion. running. So this is me in 2018. Those of you who are P2s, P3s probably might not recognize me because I don't think I look like that anymore, and you haven't seen me look like that. But in 2018, I was kind of in a bad place, and I felt, health-wise I was okay, but there were certain issues that I was not happy about. So I wanted to do something different. And a friend of mine actually was on the soccer team, suggested, why don't you run? And I said, because I hate running. That's why I don't run. And, but I thought, why not? Let's try it. So I went. So the first time I went on a run, it looked something like this. So I decided, you know what, I'll keep going. So I kept going, kept running more. And next year, October 2019, that's what I looked like. And I ran my first half marathon. So that was me after a year. And the year after was actually during the pandemic. And I ran my first marathon. And, I'm planning on running my second marathon next week. So hopefully that will work out. Thank you. But that really changed my life, the idea. What did you say?
Because it runs to work.
Exactly. Where's that from? So you really can do anything you set your mind to. So I hated running. I never was able to run before. And then all of a sudden, I was in a place where I felt I needed to do something. So I started running. And as it says, I never stopped. I still run every day. So you can set anything you want and set your mind to. And it's definitely not too late to make beneficial changes, whatever they are. It's not about specific things. It's whatever you feel are good changes to your life. It's never too late to do so. So I have a question for you before we move on to the last part of my presentation.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Yes.
Yes, you are not? So where's that from originally? There you go.
Are you not entertained?
Sorry that the sound isn't very loud in this. Okay, so talk a little bit about some of my stories during teaching and stories that actually were failures and turned into successes. So I have many of those. In general, in general, I've had many students. Most students that I've had are students who come in, they know what they want, they're so good, they do what they want. And I always don't feel that I have as much influence on them as some students who actually struggle a little bit during our program. And I've had many stories of seeing those and seeing how they rebounded. They're actually some of my favorite stories. And these students I'm so proud of when they were during their struggles and how they turned things around. And I'm going to tell you, a couple of stories, maybe 3, about those. One story was way back in the day. This was probably 10, 12 years ago. And we had this student who was struggling, not just struggling academically, she was struggling academically a little bit, but more importantly, she really wasn't happy. She wasn't, going through the program, she wasn't happy, she didn't feel herself there. And one day she came and talked to me about it, and she had already spent 2 years in the program, all that money, all that effort. And so, it was, what should I do? And I asked her, okay, you've studied in our program. Is there something you liked? And she said, I loved health informatics. Like when I did drug informatics, I loved drug informatics. That was my favorite thing. So we looked up programs. I didn't know at the time. We looked up programs, and there's actually a master's in health informatics through the School of Information, and I think public health is part of it. And so we talked about it, and she decided, you know what, yes, it's been 2 years, but I'm going to change careers. And she did, and she started that master's program. She was hugely successful in that program. She was very happy. She became the face of the program. Like all the brochures and so on, they would put her face on it. And she had a really successful, she is having a really successful career. And, it just shows that sometimes maybe you might, in some cases, you might have changed your path, but that you can do it. Another story was another student who actually was not successful in the medicinal chemistry courses, okay, which is a surprise, right? Who wouldn't pass our courses so easily? But she actually didn't pass the first of the 2 courses in the second year, and then didn't pass the second one. And she came in, she was devastated, and she was going to leave town. She was going back to home over the summer, and we talked about it, and I said, are you passionate about pharmacy? Are you passionate? That's the question. And she said, yes. I said, well, you have the summer. You have to sit down and think about what this means, and are you willing to make the changes? Because we identified specific problems that she had in terms of her approach to our courses and it wasn't, of course, just that she was struggling in our courses, obviously, but she was failing our courses. But we talked about what she has to do, and she went home, and I said, if you find that you can't do it, you have to reconsider, because you don't want to spend another year, miserable year, and then not make it, and then, or even make the second year and then go to third year. That's not what you want to do. So she went and came back, and from the first day, she was a changed person. She really changed. Like that summer, she changed herself. She became a very different person. She was successful getting through our program. She actually asked me to write her the recommendation letters for her residency. So she actually, for those of you who think, oh, I have to have a 4.0 for a residency or high GPA, this is a person who actually failed a whole year. She applied for a residency in a program that is very hard to get into. It really is. And I wrote her the recommendation letter, and I remember getting a phone call from them and saying, thank you for the letter, because we looked at her grades and we were like, why would we accept that? And when we read your letter, we understood. And they actually accepted her into that program. And again, she is a very successful career right now by that change. So a lot of times, as a student, you might struggle, you might not know your path, but you can do it. You just have to understand what is important to you. So find your path and always believe in yourself. And always think, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. Where's that from? Stuart Smalley. Dean Ellengroth's on fire. So that is true. It's Saturday Night Live. It's that's why we hired her, right? And it's never too late to turn things around. Okay, I use memes. You've been here, you've seen that I use memes. My students know I use memes all the time. So that's something that's important. So let me ask you who said these quotes. And these are all movies. May the force be with you. No, who said it? Which character? Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? The evil queen. The evil queen. Luke, I'm your father. Okay. Well, you're all wrong, exactly. Thank you. You're all wrong. Obi-Wan Kenobi never said, may the force be with you. He always said, the force will be with you always. The one who says, may the force be with you, are others, including Han Solo one time to Luke. But Obi-Wan, unlike what everybody thinks and remembers, and so you're not alone, he actually, he didn't say, may the force be with you. It's not mirror, mirror on the wall who's the fairest of all. It's magic mirror on the wall who's the fairest of them all. And look, I'm your father. It's not look, I'm father. It's yes, I'm your father. Except it's not. It's actually no, I'm your father. So the real quote is no, I'm father. So when I used it at the beginning, I was also misquoting. So you can see what I wanted to tell you here is that the human mind is highly responds to suggestion. And when it's actually false, it's called the Mandela effect, because there were people a large number of people in the 80s who believed that Nelson Mandela had died in prison. And they were convinced. And nobody knows where the theory came from or why it happened, but there were people from across the world. Somebody had posted something or something, and people believed it, and that was that. So these are things that we think. So it's highly suggestive, and that's why, we're suggestible, if I can say it right. That's why I like to use memes, because I really believe that they are a useful tool in education. Now, you don't have to use memes. There are many ways. So Dr. Garcia uses analogies. Hand and glove, all the time. Hand and glove, those kind of things. It stays with you. Dr. Nagy uses her stories, right? Remember her stories, all those interesting stories, and they're real stories that she tells us, and I still remember them. I still remember every single lesson from these stories. So you can use other things. It doesn't have to be. I like to use memes, part of it because students love them, and they can't get enough of them. But it is important to think about that, that when you use these kind of things, they're not gimmicks, they're things that actually are useful in education. I actually didn't know this, but when I was preparing this, I decided to go back and read, see if there is research about using memes. And there is, that they've shown that using memes are useful in education. They've looked at middle schoolers, high schoolers, and college students. In middle schoolers, for example, there are studies that shows that when you use memes, you improve the vocabulary of students. So there are studies that actually show that. So consider using something that actually helps the students. They do help students remember. And I see that on exams. I give a meme, and then on the exam, instead of actually providing a scientific answer, they say, oh, it hits the sweet spot, because I mentioned that, or things like that. And students love it, and they always ask for more. So whenever I have my evaluation, they always say, more memes. It just makes me remember.
I gotta have more cowbell.
More cowbell. So it's always more. I want to have more. And he's now a P3. He actually sent me a thing in the summer telling me that he was doing a presentation in his internship, and he was so inspired by these memes that I do that he actually presented it as a meme, and he sent it to me. I was so happy about that. But not as happy as when I saw the talent show last year. And this is what I saw. So that really made me happy, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the first wish I had, legacy. That's my legacy. I have made a difference in these students' lives, so I have accomplished that as well. So it's never too late to try new things when you're teaching. And of course, when I say teaching, it applies to those of you who are in healthcare, where you're going to deal with patients and with other things, that you can actually apply that as well. Okay, the good old days. So who remembers this?
All my instincts, they return.
It's so cool. Like, I'm just looking at him, but with the boombox, he looks so much better, right? So in this good old days, using these things like using the boombox, it's so cool. I'll try it. Why not? Let me try it. I don't think it looks as cool though as a boombox, right? Like it's not the same. So it's so cool to live at those times instead of today. They're called the good old times, and when you teach, they call them old school because of one thing. Because actually they're not. We live in a better time. Those things are, that's, you want to use a boombox, you want to go find, 8 D-size batteries every 2 days? Or you want to just, have your phone and you just plug it in overnight and it works the whole day. So actually, I personally think we live in better days. I don't think that, that when I hear people saying the good old days and this, teaching with chalk and chalkboard, I don't think that is true. So I actually think that it's much better. It is really cool to see a Polaroid camera and use it once in a while for novelty, right? But I have my first MP3 player was 32 megabytes. That's 8 songs. I had to hear the same 8 songs every day, several times a day. That's all I had. I mean, it was 8 songs, 32 gigas, so 30 megabytes. So that's all I had. So, just imagine that that's all the MP3 player that you would have. So embrace your era. Know that it's a good era. But the only time you want to use a boombox is if you want to, somebody of a love interest, then stay with the boombox. But it's never too late to adopt the present and even the future if you know what's going on. Necessity is the mother of invention. So in March 2020, it came all upon us unexpectedly. COVID, right. So COVID, the lockdown. And how do you deal with it? How did we deal with it? Of course, at the beginning, it's hard. It's, there's nothing much you can do. But the question is, do you use it as a disruption to your life, or do you use it as an opportunity in certain things? There's things that is going to be disruptive. You're not going to travel. You're not going to do things you like. But there are opportunities where you actually can use it better. So the challenge, one of the challenges, so when lockdown happens, I wanted to think about what do I need to do different in my teaching. And I go back to always the question that Dr. Sweet or Dean Sweet asks. What's the question, Dean Sweet? What problem?
Are we trying to solve?
Exactly. So I have to go back to that. That's what I always do. I go back to Dean Sweet's question, what problem am I trying to solve? And I found that, number one, how do I keep communication with the students? They're further. So one of the things I did was the daily digest. Those of you who went through it, it was something that every day we would have communication somehow. So it kind of provided a method for communication. There's the aspect of mental health. Students are isolated. So I tried, there's not as much that I can do there, but what I tried to do is to provide kind of a way to give the opportunity for students to kind of communicate. And so I came up with, I don't know if Dr. Garcia remembers, but we came up with this idea of the top 10 list. So I would send out an email and say, okay, here are my top 10 list, why it's so cool to take an exam remote. And one of them, for example, is bathroom breaks, right? That's so cool. You can't do it if you have when you're in the classroom. But I would ask students to provide other ones, and they would actually provide top 10, and I would, publish them and show them to the students. So kind of just trying that idea of interaction, if you will. But there's also this idea of back channel education. So one of the things about education is you have the education that's normal, but there's that back channel education where, mainly students, they work together in certain ways and they learn in that way, in those back channels. We try to sometimes tap into them, but sometimes unsuccessfully. But I thought about, how to try and tap into that, and I came up with the concept of happy hour. And no, it's not what it sounds. It's not what it sounds. Do you think? So, it's an opportunity for us to get together, buy your own drink, so I don't know what they do. It's not my problem, but it's via Zoom. And we just talk about the course. We talk about, I have questions, and we go over a Jeopardy-style question-answer, and we just, go through it. And I think it was very successful, because after the pandemic, I said, you know what, we don't need this anymore. I'm not going to do it. But then they came to me and said, no, we need to do it. Yes, we see you in classroom, but we need to keep it, so I kept it. But innovation is key in education, and it's never too late to add new tools, and happy hour probably, or at least arguably, is the best tool that I've made or I've created, because I think it provided students with certain things that other tools don't. So, although it was created for a specific reason, it turned out to be a really useful one. So music. So what do you love about music to begin with? Everything.
Almost famous.
Here you go. Almost Famous, so from this movie. And I love music. I think it's probably the best invention we've had in terms of, people coming up with music outside of things that are necessary for life. So of course, antibiotics, obviously. Seriously, those are important. Sewage systems, printing, those are all important, but those are necessary for life. Music isn't necessary for life, but I think from those inventions, music is the most important. So, tell you a story again. I don't know. Probably Ashraf doesn't remember. But in 5th grade, we had an event where I think it was the governor of Alexandria, somebody big coming to us, and they were celebrating like people who scored the best in certain subjects or overall or something that had the highest scores. And Ashraf was with me, and I was there, and we were going to sing to the person who's coming. Let's say it's the governor, and we started singing. We were practicing, and the music teacher looks at me and said, "You're singing off tune. Don't sing. When comes, just lip sync. Don't sing. And your voice is horrible." I was a 5th grader, by the way. So I learned early on that I'm not going to be, I can't really sing. I probably can't sing in the shower either. So I loved listening to music. And probably 2 of my favorite musicians were the piano man. So the actual piano man per the song, Billy Joel, and Elton John. So those were 2 of my favorite early on. And I've always wanted to see them, but I've never had the chance. Until 2018, they said, Billy Joel's coming to Detroit. Yes, buy the tickets. You buy the tickets and the lockdown happens and he doesn't come. And you wait 2019, 2020, 2021, and then finally he comes in 2022. So I actually went and saw him in Comerica Park, and as luck would have it, 10 days later, we go and see Elton John. So sometimes it's never too late. But it's actually, in a faculty meeting, and I'm sure people remember, Professor Cernak, Tim Cernak, talked about using music to encode molecules. So I thought to myself, why can't we use music to teach? Right? Like, why can't we actually teach via music? Instead of going to a lecture, I'm going to a concert today by Dr. Beleh or Dr. Carver. That's why not? So I came up with some songs. I hope you'll like them. So, choose a penicillin and MRSA infection, get a 0 on that question. That's a good one, right? Not bad. I've used it before. ACE inhibitors, what are they? They lower level of angiotensin II, used in hypertension, heart failure, and diabetic nephropathy 2. Say it again, all. Diabetic nephropathy 2. And you can use actual songs and add to them. So if I told you this migraine was only going to hurt, you take a triptan, but not with Sandron's wort. Or you can actually use from the song itself, it's the meds, so they make me sleepy. Clonopine, my friend, yeah, she numbs the feeling. Who sings that song? Come on, that's your generation. Her name is Stevie. No, her name is? Stevie, yeah. Stevie Rexa, yep. So, that might be for the P2s next semester. It might be that's how I'm going to teach you, so be prepared. The only problem is, per my 5th grade teacher, I wouldn't have been hired if that's how I teach. But Dean Allengrod, for the new building, I think you should consider adding this to the new building. So it might be that faculty searches will be like this. That's the search committee, and if they like the faculty, they're going to press the button and the chair is going to turn. So you're going to see how well they sing. So consider adding that to the building. We don't want to get to the building and then find out we needed that, right? Okay, one last word on teaching. There's a saying, education is not the filling of a pot by lighting of fire. Anybody knows who said that? Well, good, because the one who is attributed to is William Yeats, who's a poet, but he actually never said it. It's another one of those of, people say. Because actually, the first reference when I looked it up to that was 50 years after he died. So unless it was through a Dead Poets Society, he wouldn't have said it. But I want you to think of one word when, just think of words that you think are important in teaching. So, you have, for me, words like passionate, fun, high standards. Unlike what people sometimes think, students want high standards. If you teach at a low standard, if your exams are easy, they might be okay with getting the A, but they're not happy. They don't like what they're getting. Make sure you're clear. Clarity is a thing. Dr. Kahneman, I don't know if she's here today, but Dr. Kahneman always tells me, they can't read our minds. We have to be clear. So, clarity is important. Fairness, you have to be, they don't mind if the exam is hard, but they want to be fair. Communication is important. Make sure you're non-dismissive. That's one of the things that I think sometimes we fall into, of being a little dismissive, and make sure that we're not dismissive. And treat every student as an individual, not as everybody's the same or something like that. And this is just a quote that I found that I thought was very important, that we shouldn't be afraid to talk to our students about issues, about different things. We shouldn't do that. Let's see what time it is. So I think I'm gonna, I had a few more slides, but I think, we're kind of running out of time. So I'm going to. Like I think I told some people I didn't practice it, so I didn't know exactly how long it's going to take, to be honest. So, I don't want to stay too long. I'll just go through a couple of quick ones, but then we'll get to the end. So I just wanted to mention that it's very important to learn about our history. When we think about issues, I think it's really important. I've learned that lesson over and over, that I sometimes have an assumption and make an assumption, and I don't understand it until I understand the history. Actually, a student who's sitting here, I think he's here. Is Aaron here? Aaron Johnson, yeah. He taught me that lesson, I remember when he was taking one of my courses, that I better understand the history before I think about an issue. So I've always been doing that. I've always tried to understand the history. Martin Luther King said that we are not makers of history, we are made of history, and we need to understand the history behind things. So it really frightens me when you hear all those things about, let's not teach the history. It's too hard for our kids to hear about it. It's actually really important. Without that, it's really hard to do that. So know your history, and if you want to be impactful, that's what you want to do, and it's never too late. Podcasts are actually a good source for that. If you stand for nothing, Burr, what will you fall for? Hamilton, that's a famous one, right? So the thing I want to say is defend the causes that don't directly affect you. So I had actually, the quick story. After the 2016 elections, Dean Dalton had this meeting where he got everybody and said, let's sit and talk, because from different viewpoints, people had very strong feelings at the time, and he just wanted to get us together and talk. And people talked, and some people stood up and said some of what they were feeling from different things. And one of the people who talked was a Muslim student who we reveal, and she talked about how she recalled what happened after September 11th to her family at the time, and she was feeling so anxious that she couldn't get and leave the house. She was afraid something's going to happen to her. And because we're the same culture, I talked with her and we talked about strategy and so on. She came to me a week later and said, what happened to me? I was walking in the halls, and this guy I've never seen before. I knew like he was familiar, but I don't know who he is. He came up to me, gave me his phone number, and said, anytime you want to get out of the house to do anything, call me, I'll come and take you. He was a student of ours, one of our students. He was just an upperclassman. He didn't know her, but he heard her, and he defended a cause that it's not him, he's a white male, and he defended the cause. And what happened was not, that she felt safe right away by that small action. Not that she needed him to come and take her, as he said, but she felt different right away when that happened. She said, I felt different. All of a sudden, I didn't feel the anxiousness by him doing that. So it's very important to defend causes that are not only what you have, but ones that directly affect you. Another quote is, the hottest place in hell are reserved for those who in times of great moral crises maintain their neutrality. Anybody knows where that's from? So that's actually, again, attributed to, it's not actually from Dante the Inferno. And it's not an inaccurate quote. It's not the quote that he said. It's just that what he said was like a whole page. So it's hard to quote that. So people that's the meaning of what he said. And people like JFK and I think even Martin Luther King have used that quotes before. Another one was William Cowper, who was talking about slavery in England. And he said, I pity them greatly, but I must be mum, for how could we do without sugar and rum? And it tells you that if you can't see, what those other people, that's how you're going to be. You're going to think like, oh, this is so important to me. How can I live without? So slavery to them was okay, or to this person was okay because of that, because they didn't defend causes that are not directly related to them. And here's another quote: the problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. Casablanca. There you go, right? So, these are real issues that affect real people, and we have to be there to defend them. And it's never too late to find a cause to fight for. The other thing that I want to mention is your allies aren't always like you, and your adversaries are not always different from you. So keep that in mind. Just because somebody is like you doesn't mean they stand for the same cause. They might actually be detrimental to your cause, and vice versa. There is a Turkish proverb that says the forest was shrinking, but the trees kept voting for the axe because its handle was made of wood. and they thought it was one of them. And so it's really important to remember that just because somebody is like you doesn't mean they defend the same causes. And it's always never too late to be an ally. Okay, this is fun, so I'll go through it quickly again. What is the difference between Egypt and any other countries in terms of rulers and presidents? Any of the Egyptians want to tell us? We don't have ex-presidents. We never have an ex-president that is, can participate in anything. We've had 5 presidents. Of course, the pharaohs, they die and somebody else comes. But even when we do have presidents, we don't have an ex-president. Nasser, the first one, he died. Natural causes, I don't know. There's lots of rumors. So that was assassinated. Mubarak was 30 years and then overthrown by a revolution, went to prison, stayed in prison, hospital until he died. Morsi came 1 year. Depends on your side, either revolution or a coup, but he was ousted, stayed in prison until he died. And now we have, our president, who the constitution says 2 terms. He's about to finish his 2nd term. And let me assure you, he'll run for a 3rd. Doesn't matter what the constitution says. So what I want to say is there's this quote that says, it's the economy stupid. Have you heard of that quote? That's what people think about during elections, right? It's the economy stupid. But actually, I don't think it is. The one who said it, actually, anybody knows who first coined that phrase? It's actually Jim Carver, who was President Clinton's political advisor. And I don't agree with that because the economy changes all the time. It's not like, it's always good and always bad. Gas prices, they're going to go up, they're going to go down. And it's not about, if you want to, in my opinion, when I think about elections, about what it is, I don't think it's about. It's about democracy. It's easy to lose your democracy. It's not, like I said, that's why I think about Egypt and about what we went through with the revolution. It's really easy that democracy would fall, and we've seen that all over the world. Yes, it's well established in the United States, but you never know. It's about freedom. It's about the rights of women. It's about the rights of minorities. That's what you should be thinking about, separation of state and religion. Again, coming from Egypt, having religion as part of whatever you believe, but having it as part of how you're governed is a very dangerous thing, let me assure you. And be ambitious to be the best place in the world. One of the reasons I went to come here to the United States is I loved how the United States invested in things like space and just being ambitious to be something else. So yes, the economy may be bad, but we're spending money on military like nobody does. And you can spend some of that money on education and some money on space and so on. So, it's up to you, of course, but to me, it's not about the economy when I go to do the elections. Economy will change anyway. So educate yourself about the issue. Okay, here's another quote. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing the world he doesn't exist.
Usual suspects.
Here you go. So it's the usual suspects. Good, George. Right? And you notice here that one person is missing, right? I cropped somebody because I really believe in cancel culture. I do. No, I do. I really do. And I think he doesn't deserve to be in my lecture, so I cropped him out. I'm not going to even say his name. If you don't know and you want to know the story, you can ask me later. But the reason I'm saying that is change on the outside is relatively easy. Change on the inside is difficult. So our prejudices trick us, and the trick is they convince you they don't exist inside of you, but they do. And that's where it's difficult. You need to always make sure that you're not just changing on the outside where people see you in the way that you would like to be seen, but you actually get rid of the prejudice inside you. And that's really difficult, and know that there's still some inside of you, but you need to fight to get them out. That's the thing. The other thing is, remember that what you think isn't what always people think. Like, don't assume that the way we value our democracy, other people value the same type of democracy. Yes, you should fight for people to have the rights, but how they govern, how they do things, it's up to them. This is a story from the 90s that some of you may remember. Elian Gonzalez, who was a Cuban kid who was coming with his mother. The ship sank and he actually was rescued. He was taken to his relatives to live with. But then his father came from Cuba and said, I want him. I'm the cousin. So there was this big fight of where should he go. And the thing that stands in my mind is that people were like, there's no way that this father is happy because they offered him to come here and stay in the States, that he would be happier in Cuba. But he wanted to go back to Cuba, and he wanted to take his son to Cuba, and he felt it's better for him there. From our perspective, it might be no, but from their perspective, you have to understand that people are different, that people might think they're happier in a different country and different culture, whatever we think about that culture. And I just put this picture because, you know, it depends on who you are in terms of what, but this was a picture when they took the boy away, and it was during the Clinton administration. And I'm a Democrat. I love Clinton, by the way, overall. I do know he has his faults, but, you know, I do like him. But people defended that picture, which if it had happened during the Trump administration, the same people would be saying, oh, look at those, you know, coming in and pointing the gun at the boy. You know, their explanation that they said, oh, look, his finger isn't on the trigger and so on, but it's just that sometimes we like to defend people we like versus what is right and what is wrong. So final thoughts. Next to that slide, because I have to have a slide just like the thank you slide at the end. When things are going your way, don't be too up, so that when things are not going your way, don't be too down. So I'm always reserved in my happiness, so that when bad things happen, I'm not feeling as sad. And it actually works for me, so I advise you to try it. Try not to worry too much, because the biggest problems you'll face will come unexpectedly at you. So typically when bad things happen, it's not like, oh, it's this exam and I'm worried I'm going to fail this exam and then I fail this exam. It's actually something that you never expected. You're sitting on a Sunday afternoon enjoying a good Sunday afternoon with your family, and then your daughter all of a sudden becomes sick and you have to take her to the emergency room, and you're like so worried. This is a true story. You're so worried. She's 2 years old and they say they're going to take her to the emergency room, and it's like then to to intensive care and so on. So, you know, it's totally unexpected when these things happen. But also outside of things that are planned, like your wedding or, you know, having kids or whatever it is, most things that happen in your life are good things are unexpected as well. You know, if I think of, you know, the best things that's happened to me, you know, winning this award, it was unexpected. I was sitting, you know, in my classroom, and so it's unexpected that these things happen. Be considerate, be kind, be nice, and above all, be tolerant. But actually, the big one is be nice. It doesn't cost you anything, but it makes a huge difference in other people's lives. So always consider to be nice to everybody around you. And don't be ordinary, you know, be different, do something that's different. And most importantly, always remember, it's never too late. So thank you so much for attending. Thank you. I do have one last quote for you. So what's in the box? 7. So I thought I'm going to end at midnight, which would have meant that I could easily say that it's Nihal's birthday. But I ended early, but while I'm talking, I remembered that actually in Egypt it is past midnight, and she was born in Egypt. So it is actually her birthday today, so I just wanted to wish her a happy birthday. And for that purpose, I would ask you, if you don't mind, to sing happy birthday to her. And then after that, there's cake inside. So can we sing happy birthday? Yes! 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. In the microphone. Happy birthday, dear. Happy birthday to you. So I didn't sing because I remembered my 5th grade music teacher. I'm never going to sing again. Thank you so much. It was great. Sorry it went a little over time, but thank you. Hope you enjoy the cake. And
So before we all grab cake and begin to trickle out, we actually have your actual physical golden apple. We do it, yeah, and some flowers. So here it is, your official Golden Apple Award.